Case file: Nero Claudius Caesar. For nearly 2,000 years, history has repeated the same accusation. The emperor who burned his own city. Rome, year 64 AD. Flames swallowed the capital of the most powerful empire on earth. Entire districts vanished in smoke and ash. Witnesses claimed the emperor watched from a distance. Some said he sang while the city burned. But legends are not evidence, so we reopen the file, because the real mystery is not the fire. It is the mind behind the man accused of lighting it. And the clues reveal something far more complicated than madness. Clue 1. The fire that changed Rome. On the night of July 18, 64 AD, a fire erupted near Rome's Circus Maximus. Ancient historian Tacitus recorded that the flames spread rapidly through crowded wooden neighborhoods. For 6 days, the city burned. Out of Rome's 14 districts, only 4 remained untouched. 3 were completely destroyed. When the smoke cleared, thousands were homeless, and suspicion immediately turned toward the emperor. But the evidence presents a different starting point. According to Tacitus, Nero was not even in Rome when the fire began. He was in the coastal town of Antium. When news reached him, he rushed back to the capital. There, records claim he opened imperial gardens to refugees and organized emergency food supplies. So if Nero did not ignite the fire himself, why did so many Romans believe he did? Clue 2. The Golden House. After the fire, Nero announced a massive reconstruction of Rome. Wider streets, stone buildings, fire prevention measures. But at the center of this new Rome stood something else, a palace unlike anything the empire had seen before. The Domus Aurea, the Golden House. Ancient writers describe a palace covered in gold leaf, jewels, artificial lakes, and sprawling gardens. A private paradise built in the middle of the devastated city. To many Romans, the timing looked suspicious. A burned city, a cleared landscape, and an emperor building a golden monument to himself. In politics, perception can be more powerful than truth, and Nero's palace looked like a motive. Clue 3. The scapegoats. Public anger grew quickly. Rome needed someone to blame. Tacitus writes that Nero shifted the blame toward a small religious group living within the city, Christians. They were arrested, tortured, and executed in brutal public spectacles. Some were burned alive, others were thrown to wild animals. The punishment shocked even Roman observers. But psychologically, the move reveals something familiar. A leader under pressure, desperate to redirect fear. If the people needed an enemy, Nero gave them one.
Clue 4. The Performer Emperor. But the most revealing clue may lie in Nero's personality. Nero did not behave like a traditional Roman emperor. He loved theater, music, public performance. He forced senators to attend his concerts. He competed in Greek athletic and artistic contests. Roman elites saw this as humiliating. In their culture, emperors were supposed to embody discipline and restraint. Nero embodied spectacle. To the aristocracy writing Rome's history, he was already an embarrassment. Which raises a critical question. If historians already despised him, how reliable are the stories they told? Clue 5. The historian's bias. Nearly every detailed account of Nero's reign comes from 3 Roman writers: Tacitus, Suetonius, Cassius Dio. All wrote decades after Nero's death, and all belonged to the senatorial class, the same class Nero repeatedly humiliated and punished. Their writings are valuable historical sources, but they are not neutral witnesses. Every investigation must ask the same question: who benefits from the story being told? After Nero died, the Roman Senate declared him a public enemy. His statues were destroyed, his memory officially condemned. This process had a name: damnatio memoriae, the erasure of a man from history. And yet, it is the enemies of Nero who wrote the history we inherited. So the psychological profile becomes clearer. Nero was ambitious, obsessed with attention, deeply insecure, raised under political conspiracies and palace betrayals. His mother, Agrippina, manipulated his rise to power. Later, Nero had her assassinated. A childhood surrounded by paranoia rarely produces stable rulers. But insecurity does not automatically create an arsonist. Which brings us back to the central mystery. Did Nero burn Rome, or did Rome need someone to blame? Because fires in ancient cities were tragically common. Rome's crowded wooden housing made the city dangerously flammable. Historians estimate similar fires had occurred before, but this time the destruction was catastrophic, and the emperor at the center of power was already unpopular. Psychologically, that combination is explosive: fear, anger, and a leader who looked guilty. So here is the final theory. Nero may not have started the fire, but he benefited from what came after. The destruction allowed him to rebuild Rome according to his vision: a new urban design, a monumental palace, a city reshaped around imperial power. In politics, opportunity often follows disaster, and Nero seized that opportunity. But history rarely remembers nuance. It prefers villains. It prefers simple stories. The emperor who played music while his city burned. But when we examine the evidence, the truth becomes far less certain and far more human, because the real lesson of this case may not be about Nero at all. It may be about how history judges power, how fear creates villains, and how the voices that survive are rarely neutral. History remembers the legend, but the psychology tells a different story, and that changes everything.